They were the soldiers no one spoke of. They fought no wars, yet ended them. When an emperor whispered, they listened. When he feared betrayal, they made it disappear. Before we reveal how Rome created the world's first secret service, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. And if you love stories of ancient spies, assassins, and the shadows behind empires, hit like, share, and subscribe, because tonight we uncover the lost agents of Rome. When we think of Rome, we picture armies of iron, legions marching in perfect lines, banners shining under the sun. But behind the golden glory was a system so secret, even Roman senators feared to speak of it. A network of watchers, informants, and executioners, answering to no one but the emperor himself. Their name was whispered, the Frumentarii. To the world, they were simple grain officers, harmless messengers who traveled the empire, ensuring the army's food supply. But that was the mask. Beneath it lay the most feared intelligence network of the ancient world. The story begins in the reign of Emperor Domitian. Around 81 CE, the empire was vast, stretching from the deserts of Arabia to the cliffs of Britain, and rebellion brewed in its edges like fire under ash. Domitian was paranoid, and perhaps for good reason. Senators plotted in shadows. Generals whispered in bathhouses. Enemies hid among his allies. So he turned to the only thing Rome truly trusted, the discipline of soldiers. He took loyal centurions, stripped their insignias, and gave them a new mission, to move silently across the empire, collecting whispers instead of taxes, names instead of victories. These men blended in perfectly. No one suspected the quiet grain inspectors visiting garrisons or provinces. They would share a drink with officers, smile, ask questions, and by morning, they knew who was loyal, who was corrupt, and who needed to vanish. They became eyes and ears of the emperor, the invisible legion. But loyalty in Rome was a fragile thing. Each emperor feared his own creation. The Frumentarii began as spies, but they evolved into something far more dangerous. They became power brokers. Governors bribed them, senators feared them, generals flattered them, because a single report from a Frumentarius could mean exile or execution. Imagine living in the Roman world, a civilization of marble and blood, knowing that any stranger in the marketplace could be watching for the emperor's will. And that's the brilliance of it. Rome controlled its people not just with armies, but with fear of unseen eyes. But let's pause a moment. Picture this. You're a Roman merchant in Alexandria, trading spices brought from the Red Sea. A man in plain armor asks how business fares. You talk freely. Maybe you complain about taxes or how corrupt the governor is. The man nods, thanks you, and walks away. A week later, soldiers raid your shop. Your words, innocent gossip, were overheard, and you're charged with treason. You never even knew who told them. That was the genius of Rome's invisible hand. The Frumentarii turned an empire of soldiers into an empire of silence. Still, they weren't alone. Another group moved in even deeper shadows, the Speculatores, the observers. Originally scouts, they became the emperor's private hitmen. They carried out arrests, assassinations, and covert missions under imperial seal. When the Frumentarii gathered information, the Speculatores acted on it. Together, they formed the two halves of Rome's dark machinery, intelligence, and execution. And yet, in the heart of this darkness, one man stood above all others. Marcus Nerva, a senator who became emperor in 96 CE after Domitian's murder. But here's the twist. It was the Frumentarii who helped remove Domitian. The emperor's own secret police betrayed him. They had become so powerful, even Caesar's throne wasn't safe from their reach. When Nerva rose, he promised transparency, justice, and reform. But he too found himself trapped by the system. The Frumentarii were too valuable to destroy. They were Rome's lifeline to its farthest corners. They controlled information flow, troop morale, even trade routes. In other words, they were Rome's nervous system. Nerva's successor, Trajan, realized this and used them brilliantly. He expanded the network, embedding agents in foreign courts, temples, and military posts. Some historians believe the Frumentarii helped manipulate barbarian leaders into infighting, preventing invasions before they even began. Rome, under Trajan, didn't just conquer with legions, it conquered with intelligence. But there was a cost. The same spies who protected the emperor also began manipulating politics, blackmailing officials, even controlling appointments. Rome's democracy, what little of it remained, was now entirely ruled by information. By the time of Hadrian, the Frumentarii had become both indispensable and hated. They could enter any province, question any official, and arrest anyone in the emperor's name. Imagine being a governor and seeing a Frumentarius arrive in your city. It was like seeing death walk through your door. And yet, Hadrian understood them. He was a strategist, a thinker, a man obsessed with control. He used them not just for espionage, but for diplomacy. His agents negotiated treaties, bribed tribal leaders, and spread propaganda through local priests and poets. Rome's secret service didn't just gather secrets, they shaped them. This is where their legend grows dark. In the 2nd century, a Frumentarius was said to have infiltrated a Dacian warlord's court for years, pretending to be a slave, before assassinating him in his own tent, ending a rebellion before it began. Others infiltrated temples, posing as priests, to influence prophecies in favor of Rome. They blurred the line between faith, politics, and murder. And it worked for a time. Rome thrived under their unseen guidance. But the power of silence is addictive. The Frumentarii began keeping their own secrets, and when emperors discovered that their spies were spying on them, paranoia exploded across the imperial court. Emperors executed their own agents, new ones replaced them, and the cycle continued. The Watchers watched the Watchers. By the 3rd century, the Frumentarii were no longer servants of the throne. They were the empire behind the empire. And that's where our story turns darker. Because as one emperor rose, another fell by their design. Next, we'll uncover how the Frumentarii turned Rome into a surveillance state, how they hunted even the emperors who created them, and how their downfall led to the birth of an even more secret organization, the one that would survive for centuries after Rome itself collapsed. Before we continue, tell me, if you lived in ancient Rome, could you survive knowing your best friend might be a spy? Comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next chapter reveals how the Secret Service of the Caesars became the most feared power Rome ever knew. You can kill a man, you can destroy his army, but you can't kill an idea, especially when that idea wears the face of loyalty. And that's exactly what doomed Rome. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? And what time is it right now? If you love these dark corners of history, the ones textbooks never dared to open, hit like, share, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear is the story of how Rome as secret service turned against its own emperors and vanished into legend. By the 3rd century CE, the Frumentarii had become more than just spies. They were the bloodline of Roman control. Their network stretched from Britannia to Egypt, from the forests of Germania to the deserts of Syria. Every whisper, every shipment, every rebellion, they knew first. They no longer answered to the Senate, nor to the generals. They answered to themselves. Rome had birthed something unstoppable, a machine that no one could see, yet everyone feared. Emperor Septimius Severus, a shrewd and ruthless man, was the first to see the danger. He had clawed his way to power through blood and cunning, and he understood that control was about information, not swords. He expanded the Frumentarii's powers, granting them authority to interrogate, arrest, and even execute in the name of state security. The empire entered an era of paranoia. Citizens whispered before speaking. Senators avoided gatherings. Governors bribed spies just to survive another month in office. Rome was no longer ruled by laws. It was ruled by fear of the invisible. The Frumentarii became so feared that entire provinces revolted not against Rome's legions, but against its spies. But fear has a price. The more powerful the Frumentarii grew, the more corrupt they became. They began extorting merchants, blackmailing governors, and selling information to foreign enemies. Some even used their imperial authority to seize estates or eliminate rivals. Rome's secret police had turned into a criminal empire wearing the emperor's face. It's said that one emperor, Diocletian, had a dream. In it, he saw a black eagle soaring over Rome, but beneath its wings were thousands of worms eating it from within. When he awoke, he knew what it meant. The Frumentarii had devoured the empire they were meant to protect, so he acted. In 297 CE, Diocletian officially disbanded the Frumentarii, declaring them enemies of the state. Their barracks on the Celian Hill were burned, their records destroyed, their agents hunted. Rome celebrated the fall of its secret terror, but the truth? They didn't vanish. They simply changed names. From the ashes, Diocletian created a new, smaller, tighter organization, the Agentis in Rebus, Latin for men of affairs. Publicly, they were imperial couriers, administrators, and inspectors. Privately, they were spies, informants, and political assassins, reborn from the same mold. The empire needed control, and control required eyes in the dark. By now, the Roman world was collapsing. Barbarian tribes invaded from all sides, the economy crumbled, and emperors rose and fell like waves in a storm. But the Agentis in Rebus survived every fall, always adapting, always listening. They infiltrated the church as Christianity spread, monitoring bishops and councils. They intercepted messages between generals. They became the unseen backbone of imperial bureaucracy. When Constantine the Great took power, he found the Agentis too valuable to destroy. He used them to unite the empire under his new Christian rule. They collected intelligence from temples, cults, and monasteries. Some even served as secret guards in Constantine's own court. In a way, the secret service of the Caesars had found new gods to serve. Now imagine this. It's the year 410 CE, Rome is burning. The Visigoths have breached the walls. As the city falls, a handful of men slip through the chaos, carrying sealed scrolls marked with the imperial sigil. They are Agentis in Rebus, tasked with protecting Rome's most valuable weapon, its intelligence archives. Some say they fled east, carrying the knowledge to Constantinople. Others believe they went underground, merging into trade guilds and secret orders that would later become the Byzantine intelligence networks, and much later, the Venetian spies of the Middle Ages. One Roman historian wrote, "Though the empire perished, its eyes remained open." It's poetic, and maybe literal. The question is, did Rome's shadow empire truly end, or did it evolve? Some theories suggest that the Frumentarii's descendants influenced early medieval espionage, from Byzantine spy masters to the mysterious informants who aided the Knights Templar. Even the Church's Holy Office, centuries later, used a system eerily similar to the Roman intelligence network. Anonymous reports, secret arrests, interrogation records, all born from the same Roman obsession with control. Rome fell, but its system of surveillance survived, hidden in new forms. Think about it. From Roman Frumentarii to Byzantine agents, to papal inquisitors, to royal intelligence in Europe, it's the same lineage of fear, secrecy, and silence. The same DNA runs through every empire that ever wanted to know too much. The Invisible Legion never truly died. It simply learned to adapt. So, what began as a network of humble grain inspectors became a force that outlived the empire itself, a machine of loyalty, corruption, and control that echoes in every intelligence agency today. MI6, CIA, Mossad, FSB. All are, in a way, children of the Frumentarii. They inherited Rome's greatest secret. Power isn't taken by the sword, it's taken by the whisper. If you've made it this far, you now know what few ever do, that every empire hides its truth behind silence. But now I want to know, could you live in an empire where every friend, neighbor, or lover might be a spy? Tell me in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this journey through the hidden corridors of Rome, then like, share, and subscribe, because this series isn't over. Next time, we step beyond the ruins of Rome into the world that inherited its secrets. The shadows never ended. They just changed their name